Hello and welcome back to TIP TV with me, Matt Brown, and I'm joined today by Dr. Alistair Smith, who is CEO of Avacta Group PLC.
Hello.
Good day to you, Alistair. How are you today?
Very well, thanks. Yeah, very well indeed.
Good stuff. So, for new investors and viewers, can you just explain what you do as a company, where you operate, and how you make your money, basically?
Of course, yeah, a bit of background then. So what we've developed over the last few years is what we refer to as the Affimer technology. And this is an engineered alternative to antibodies. So it's worth just explaining why antibodies have some commercial value and explain the markets. So an antibody has commercial value because it is able to bind to a target and either inhibit that target's biology in some way, in which case you have a potential for a drug, a therapeutic, or maybe capture that target and detect it, so you could have a diagnostic or a research assay or other tools. So antibodies have a very broad application across the therapeutics, diagnostics and research space. And those markets in total are worth well in excess of $100 billion now. So, and that is despite the fact that antibodies have some fairly significant limitations in some of those key applications. So what we've done is we've developed an alternative to antibodies which doesn't have those limitations. It's a very robust, easily manufactured technology, very easy for us to modify to work in different applications. And our business model is twofold. So we have a therapeutic drug development program, and we are also commercialising through licensing into the non-therapeutic areas, diagnostics and research, as I've mentioned.
And what diseases or viruses are you looking to deal with and tackle?
Okay, so in principle, anything that can bind to a target and inhibit or change its biology in some way can be applied across a broad range of diseases. But what we've chosen to do is focus in one particular area, in oncology, but in an area called immuno-oncology. And the reason for that is twofold. There are some technical benefits to Affimers that allow us to do some really novel and quite high value things in that space to really make differentiated medicines. But also it's an area that is very sort of hot at the moment. Lots of M&A, lots of licensing deals being done. So strategically, it's interesting for us as well.
And you had your interim numbers at the end of January. Can you just talk us through those numbers?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. We're not a revenue story, of course, at the moment. So the major progress is technical and commercial, and that's been right across the board, actually. So I'll take the non-therapeutic area first. A lot of this is very difficult to see from outside of the company at the moment because confidentiality prevents us from talking specifics. But in the last 12 months, we've had a really significant growth in the number of partners that we're engaged with who are evaluating the technology, some of whom we would expect to complete that evaluation this year, and we've said several times that we hope that will then turn into the first licensing deals to really validate the business model. So really good, strong growth in that pipeline. Many really interesting and powerful success stories that I hope ultimately the partners will allow us to speak about publicly. So good progress there. And on the therapeutic side, it's been a really good 6 to 9 months. Without going into all the detail, we've hit several preclinical milestones around our lead programs that we set out as objectives last year. And most recently, we on Monday announced the immunogenicity data that we've just got.
Okay, and can you just talk us through that data released on Monday? And I believe it's positive for the company. Just walk us through that.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's very important for the company. I don't think that can be overstated, actually. So just to put it in context, with an early stage technology like Affimers and with all therapeutics going into clinical trials, immunogenicity is a potential issue. Not just because immediately what people think of is a safety. You know, will I get adverse side effects? But there's also another key point, which is that if your body has an immune response to the drug when it's administered, what can happen is antibodies are raised in your blood that block the action of the drug. So it ceases to become effective, or its efficacy is reduced considerably. And as many drugs in development fail through that immunogenic response as any sort of serious side effects. So it's very important. On top of that, because we have a novel new technology that is competing in this space, there are obvious questions from every partner we ask. Can you generate good binders to targets? Can you show me some efficacy data in animal models? We've been able to say yes to all of that. Is it immunogenic? And only now have we got the data to show that it's not. So what we've done is we've done an industry standard type of test using human blood samples. So this is not done in vivo in people, but it's done in the laboratory using human blood samples. But it's well known that the tests that we've done, and other people do, is very well correlated with what happens when you do dose people with the biotherapeutic. So it's indicative of what you can expect. And with those blood samples, what you're looking for is for the T cells, the immune cells in that blood, to become active and proliferate and start to do things when you put the Affimer into the sample. And if you see that, then you've got an issue. And as you said, to cut a long story short, we saw no issue with any of the Affimer technology that we put into these tests. So a really clean bill of health across the board, which is great in terms of risk reduction in terms of our own in-house development pipeline. But also, as I said, in terms of our ability to take conversations further forward with large pharma partners.
Fantastic. And you mentioned strategic development and potential. Would there be potential for a M&A with regards to being taken over as a company? Is that a potential?
Of course, but I don't think that's on the horizon. Our view, certainly within the company, is that there's two ways we can generate value for shareholders, which might ultimately be realised like that. But there's two things we're focused on, not M&A not being one of them. Those two things are taking assets through into the clinical phases, because then there's a big value uplift in the technology. And so there we've selected relatively low risk targets to give us the minimum risk associated with getting into the clinic. And secondly, to develop more novel assets that would be regarded as valuable and licensable by the pharma company. So those are the two ways in which we're focused on delivering value to shareholders.
And for shareholders, what can they look forward to for the rest of 2017?
Okay, so on the non-therapeutic side, the reagents and diagnostics, you remember our model is licensing. So we've got quite a large number of third parties now looking at the Affimer technology. So we've provided them or are in the process of providing them with an Affimer that hits the target they're interested in. And then some of those evaluations are now going on. The third party's checking whether it works in their application or not, and there'll be more throughout the year. So we should expect some of those to be successful evaluations and to be able to talk about those partners taking the Affimer forward in some way or another. Might be a very straightforward licensing deal, might be some exclusivity around a certain product development. We'll see as that happens. So we certainly said many times we hope and expect to see that this year. And then on the just to say that's important because it validates the business model. If third parties are getting Affimers, using them, being happy and wanting to commit resource to developing something, that validates the licensing business model. It'll be the first time we've done that. On the therapeutic side, there's I won't go through all of it, but because we have multiple programs, there is multiple opportunities for news flow, both from our own in-house programs that I've mentioned, but also the programs we have with partners. So we already have a license agreement with a US biotech called Moderna. We're a little bit restricted what we can talk about with regards to that for obvious reasons, but that program of work will continue through the year and ultimately deliver news flow. Then we have a piece of work with a group at the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, which is the biggest and oldest cancer center in the US, around a type of therapeutic called CAR-T. And they are pretty much the world leaders from an academic perspective in that area. So we're providing them Affimers to go into that technology for them to evaluate, and we expect news around the end of Q3, early Q4. And then we have one more with a small UK biotech called Glythera around drug conjugates, and that will also read out in Q3, Q4. So plenty to look forward to.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds like a busy 2017 for you.
Very much so, yeah.
Dr. Alistair Smith, thank you very much for joining us today.
My pleasure, thank you.